Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's Weekly Energy Boost. My name is Elisheva, and I'm here this beautiful Monday morning with David. And we're very glad to have David back after his mini hiatus. He looks like he just got off the plane from a Hawaiian vacation. He's very happy to be here as well. We are happy to be here to talk to you this week about a lighter way of being. This week and this whole month, we've been talking about the power of this time period, the significance for all of humanity, not just those of us who know about it. And this week, one of the things that came to our attention is how cumbersome spiritual work can seem, how sometimes we allow the burden of responsibility and obligation, we call it spiritual work. And there's a different way to approach it, which we'll talk about this week, because sometimes the weight of all of the things we have to do, both in the physical sense and in the spiritual sense, can slow us down, can weigh us down. And we want to make sure that we go not only to the next week or two, but really to the next month with a sense of lightness and ease and gliding through the opportunities that come toward us. The Weekly Energy Boost is a 7-day spiritual weather forecast where David and I, and sometimes guests, pour over the wisdom of Kabbalah, taking from that wisdom as many nuggets, pearls of wisdom and tools to share with our listeners to not only help you navigate through the coming week, but also through any challenges you face any time of your lives. And David, I know that you missed the last couple episodes, but one thing I wanted to bring up again from a couple weeks ago that Batya shared that I thought you would appreciate is she was talking about how when you put on a VR goggles, right? You know you're standing in your living room or in someone's house. You have a cool drink in your hand or to the right of you, and you're surrounded by friends and you're there to have a good time. But the moment the zombie attack begins, your body thinks it's in danger and you sweat and your heart races and your mind is stressed as though your life is genuinely in danger, even though your conscious mind knows you're playing a video game. And we correlated that to the challenges that we face in the physical reality, that the Kabbalists teach that everything that happens in the physical world is an illusion. What does that mean? It doesn't mean it's not happening. It means that it's really like virtual reality, that everything is staged so as to elicit a certain elevation from us, a certain, the same way that actors in our favorite movies rise to the challenge, superheroes, put aside their comfort and they step into their greatness. The universe is rigged in the same way. And the body, or I should say the mind, doesn't really differentiate between reality and imagination, right? If you imagine that you're in danger, your heart will race, your palms will sweat, you will go into what's called flight or fight mode. So part of what we want to understand here is the role of our mentality in how we approach spiritual work, how we look at the opportunities not as a burden, but as a gift. And I know that you have a lot to say about that because the coughing immediately begins, yes, as it does in every episode.
Well, thank you for that. And as always, I think that because we don't really prepare ahead of time for our topics, I start to think and ask the universe what we should be talking about. And I know you do the same. And what you're talking about is exactly what I was planning to speak about. And that's the duality that the Kabbalists explain between the body consciousness and the soul consciousness. And I would say that instead of calling it the soul, let's call it the mind, the consciousness, the power of our brain. Because, for example, when it comes to exhaustion, you know that 95% of exhaustion is just really in the mind. And we give so much credence to the way our body feels. And while we need to take care of the body, because the body is a vessel for the mind and for the soul, we have to realize that truly what dictates every aspect of our lives, including what we receive in this world, has to do with our consciousness, what's going on in our mind. Kabbalists say you have to protect your mind It's it's the place that draws the light of the Creator. And so we have to protect it. We have to protect it in that we have to help clear out negative belief systems that are limiting us. We have to surround ourselves with people who have positive consciousness and who have already achieved their next level, who have broken through. I'm supposed to give a talk about this in Vegas in a couple of weeks, all about negative belief systems to a group of entrepreneurs, probably like 500 to 1,000 people who own businesses. And the main topic is how to scale, because everyone's having a tough time breaking out to their next level, scaling in whatever world that they're in. And a lot of the scaling, the lack of scaling, has to do with the heaviness that's in our brain. For example, there's one person who is doing well in their business and outwardly vocalizes that they would love to be able to make more money and to have financial freedom. So I asked them, okay, well, how much are you making now? And let's say she says it's $1. I say, so I'm just throwing out $1, obviously. Mm-hmm. I'll say, what is it?
Got you.
This picture does not represent. We know on the packages where it's like a big picture and it says does not actually represent the size of the
cookie.
The cookie. That's right. So let's say she says, well, I'm making $1 now, and I want to make more. I say, okay, so what do you think about making $40? And then this is how you know that this is the tikkun, the correction of the person, those negative belief systems. Her eyes start to glaze. Now, why? Because she doesn't really want to make 40. Why? Because in her mind, I'm already burnt out, right? This is the number one, I wouldn't say number one, but it's top 5 reasons why people don't want to grow is because they already feel so burned out where they're at. If I have to generate 5 or 10x that, which I want, everybody wants 5 or 10x whatever they have, I have to put in 5, 10x effort that I don't even have the capacity for. I'm exhausted. This is what people feel, and most people are exhausted. Like, tell me if you're not exhausted, because you're most likely redlining whatever level you're at. So this thought of receiving more, while it's great in theory, in your mind, you may think that means that now you have to expend energy that you don't even have. I mean, you got family, you got obligations, you got responsibilities, you got kids, you got a mortgage, you got a lease, you got bills, you have family so many responsibilities. I'm exhausted. People say they're exhausted. They feel heavy. And this is why the Creator says, okay, I feel from you subconsciously you do not want to receive more because you're sending me a signal. Do not send me more. And this is why people stay limited. So if you're exhausted, you're subconsciously telling the Creator, don't send me more of anything, even though verbally you're telling all your friends you want more. So how do we remedy that? We have to realize the exhaustion is just in our mind. I always give the analogy that what's the difference between you and Elon Musk? Mm-hmm. Right? If I have to just use him as an example. He thinks it's as easy going to Mars as you think it is to go buy a latte. If I said, can you go buy a latte? I'd be like, sure, that's easy. I'll just go to a Starbucks, which is everywhere, and I'll buy a latte. That's pretty easy to do, right? You already know how you're going to do it. It's not like a struggle for you. He believes it's just as easy for him to go to Mars. And as a result, because he believes it's easy, the exhaustion goes away. It's your belief that something is easy or hard will determine A, how long it takes, but B, how much energy it sucks from you. Most people think this is hard, that's hard. Spirituality is hard. This is my favorite. Kabbalah is hard. Spirituality is hard. Well, who is it hard for? Is it hard for? It's hard for you because somehow you were given a belief system, maybe from past life, maybe from your parents, maybe from whatever, that spirituality needs to be suffering. Most people who were raised with religion believe that you have to suffer in order to be rewarded in this world. This is a negative belief system.
Or that if I'm suffering, I deserve it.
Or if I'm suffering, I deserve it. Or I'm such a bad person, I should be suffering. Why am I not suffering right now? Right now, my life is good. That's not right. There should be some suffering. Then I know I'm okay. I'm okay if I'm suffering, right? That's another one. I'm okay if I'm in pain. I'm okay if I'm being abused. If I'm not being abused and everyone's loving me and nurturing me and being compassionate, something's wrong with me. I must not be of this world. I'm afraid. It's my unknown zone. So these are all the belief systems we have in the mind that create a heavy energy. Exhaustion does not come from what you're doing or not doing in this world. As we said, Elon Musk has a little more on his to-do list than we do, but maybe he's equally exhausted or not to us. It's because of your personal belief system. That's the stuff that's weighing us down. How about like somebody walks into the room and you're already thinking, oh, this person's going to say this, act like that. You know, it could be a spouse. Oh, here we go again. This, that. All that nonsense in your brain is just wasting your energy. And you're prejudging everything all the time. That's another way of exhaustion and heaviness. Prejudge.
Here we go again.
Here we go. Here we go. This nonsense again. The prejudge is draining as well. So we just said a lot, but I think it comes down to really a couple things. Number one is if you're prejudging, you're shrinking your consciousness, and that's a main cause of heaviness. If you have a belief, what is your belief system about suffering? Most people believe it is very good to suffer. It is good to be abused. It must mean I'm on the right track. I would say let's focus on those two things as our northern star of trying to lighten up our life, because it's all nonsense. We make up all these rules ourselves, and we create all these rules for ourselves to feel good about ourselves. Even Kabbalah, I was talking to somebody today, I'm like, even the Creator looks at us and says, oh, fine, if you want to do this Kabbalah thing, whatever. Like, I'm just here to give. Like, even all that is rules that it's not we created, but it's obviously been given down to us in a divine way. But we don't even need those rules. Because as we know, when we all finish our correction in this world, the rules are gone. So which means that the rules were never there to begin with. So
that's all part of the matrix.
It's all part of the matrix. That's right. You're not supposed to like live by, you're supposed to get to a level where you don't need the rules anymore. It's kind of the point. Not that the rules are your God.
Right. Something that you made me think of, and I know a lot of our listeners are not native English speakers, but in English, the word responsible is response-able. And to me, being able to respond, if I am responsible for something, what that means is that I am able to choose how I respond. And I feel that a lot of the drainage that we have comes from being stuck in a loop of how I respond to things. Like David said, the prejudging, it's autopilot. You're not thinking, I'm going to prejudge now and therefore drain my battery and be angry and passive aggressive for the rest of the day. No, we are on automatic pilot 90% of the time. And the wisdom of Kabbalah teaches us that the first thing the first right that we have as human beings is to choose our response. If you've ever taken any of our courses, that's the first thing we teach is to pause and to decide which part of me do I want to empower to respond? Where do I want to operate from? What is the dominating energy that I want to project right now? And if I want to project, okay, here we go again. Let's see what this guy has to say. Now I'm going to have to add something else to my to-do list. We're actually creating that hologram in the VR program, meaning we talk a lot in Kabbalah about the concept of certainty. Certainty is not confidence. It's not positive thoughts. It's not feeling good about ourselves. It is the knowledge that whatever's happening, the certainty is in that the Creator is behind everything. I know that even if this doesn't feel good right now, even if it feels scary, even if it looks dark, in times of darkness, there is even greater light. The light is even more, the Creator is even more behind those moments. So when we also learn, piggybacking on that certainty works both ways. That if I decide there is no light in what I'm about to do, if I decide that the Creator has skipped over, maybe the Creator had too much on his plate and wasn't available when I needed him and therefore is not present in this situation, I'm literally banishing the light from the situation. So when you look at something and you say, okay, here we go again. This again. What we're really doing is inviting that pattern. We're saying it's going to be dark again. This is going to be difficult again. I'm going to struggle again. So I think even before we get into the prejudging and the where is my energy coming from, we have to pause and say, in an ideal situation, how would the highest version of me respond right now? Right? And I want to correlate that high, elevated, that language with being lighter. Right? If the heavy, my body and my mental capacity, my logic and my rationale is heavy. It's data. It's my past. It's my experiences. And my higher self, my more elevated consciousness, isn't burdened by the past, isn't bogged down by history and videotapes that are on loop of how I can never break through that barrier and how all of my relationships end like that and how my family karma is such and such and such. I was born into poverty, therefore I'm stuck in a cycle of poverty. Our elevated consciousness doesn't know that's like a foreign language. So part of what we need in order to break free is to get into that habit of saying, pause. Which part of me do I want to respond to this? What energy do I want to bring to this? And even if you feel that you can't even imagine what a better response might look like, ask yourself to imagine for a moment, how would my favorite person, how would the person that I admire the most respond to this? How would my favorite TV character, the one that I wish I was like, the one whose life I wish I had, how would they respond to this? Start to use your imagination for something constructive, not for the worst case scenario, because imagining the worst case scenario adds another VHS tape to the heaviness that you bring to whatever you're...
VHS? Did you just say VHS?
I said VHS. I have a bag.
I don't think that's the demo of our audience. But
okay.
Tony, do you remember
when
VHS?
David and I were kids,
No.
This is into the late 90s, we watched movies on VHS. Now, the reason I bring it up is to give the universe a reminder that there is a bag of VHS tapes in my bedroom that are waiting to be transferred to digital media so that I can show my children who their mother was when she was a youth.
A youth.
A youth. It's a very heavy bag. It may be 5 or 6 cassettes, but they are heavy. They have weight, and they are bogging down my energy, literally and figuratively, by releasing this always happens. The movie metaphors are way too abundant. We're really just projecting that reality again and again and again. And nobody wants to, David always talks about nobody wants to be around the poo-poo face. The poo-poo face is also heavy, and it comes from having those movies on repeat. So part of what the energy this week is asking us to do is to lighten up, is to unburden ourselves from the cassettes that are looping what happened, what always happens, what I can't get away from, my ancestral, tendencies, or I'm a Scorpio, so therefore I always get into these movies, quote unquote. I create these scenarios that don't really exist. This is the week to release all of that.
Wow.
Let it go, David.
Well, I think that also the Zohar talks about this concept of being simple, and just this word simplicity. What do you think of when you hear the word simplicity?
Some people think of like stupid.
Right. They think stupid, and actually it's pretty good to be stupid. There's some value in that, because most people where you also feel drained is when you are trying to control so many variables in your life, and you start to feel that you are in control. You start to feel that you can control. You can control how people feel. You think that you can control how people feel about themselves, about their lives. You think that you can save people. You have control over that. You think that you can control how your kids turn out. You think you can control how certain events will unfold. And this is a very draining thing. And the reason why it's draining, when something is draining, it's the creator's way of telling you you're on the wrong track. So when something is draining, it's the creator's way of telling you you're on the wrong track. And the perfect balance is I make effort in the physical world to achieve something that goes without saying. But the moment I feel needy or anxious about the result, I need to let go and visualize that the light of the creator is taking over. And this is a dance you may do many times in a day. It's push, 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 and then let go and meditate and ask that the light of the creator take over. There's actually a lot of science to this. This is actually the science of manifestation. People ask, well, how do I manifest? I'm always in a potential. I'm always an idea. So there's people who either aren't working hard, so they're not even in the game. But there's people who work very hard and they put in a lot of effort, but they control it from beginning to end. And so they don't create a space for the light of the creator to come in, to bring the miracles. Because no matter what you're expecting to achieve, the creator has something more pleasurable to bring to you and for you. So you're limiting that. And that's why you feel drained. Drained means I'm trying to receive less with all my fancy footwork and all my brilliance. I'm trying to receive actually less than what is meant for me. So being drained is the way that the creator speaks to us and says, back off. Change the way you're doing this. Bring me in as a partner. Let me do the heavy lift for you. Do your part, but know exactly when to let go. It's like know when to leave the conversation. Know when to leave the party. You're supposed to go to the party, but you're also supposed to leave. You leave at the high.
Like you do in every episode when you walk out of the door and I got to finish it up by myself.
You know what? I have to live by what I teach. Sometimes when I feel like we've reached the peak of the weekly energy boost, I will just walk out of the room.
David leads by example.
Now, you don't know that because the camera's not on me. You think I'm sitting there. I'm not sitting there. I've already left.
You know what? I marvel about this every time it happens, but I said, okay, well, David's going to talk now, and then afterwards I wrote a note for myself. I'm going to talk about this, which is almost exactly what you just said. And the only spin, I guess maybe David was giving the masculine spin on it. I'm going to give the feminine spin on it. I think that one of the biggest energy drains that we have, and when you think of energy, spiritual energy is like helium. So the more energy you have, the lighter you're going to be. The less energy you have, the more energy you waste or you allow to drain from you, the heavier you're going to be, the more sandbags you're going to feel. So there is I would say for the ladies in the room, one of the bigger things that weighs us down is a sense of obligation. And I'm sure men have it as well, but I feel like it's
we just heard it on the Joe Rogan podcast. So that men live in quiet desperation because of all the responsibilities.
Okay, so I'm not gonna use the word responsible. I'm gonna use the word obligation. And that energy of I have to, or if I don't do it, no one else, it's not gonna get done, or I'm the only one. The control piece I never identified with until I heard it spun like this. I'm not a controlling person, except if I'm not going to do it, it's not going to get done right. It's not going to get done well. It's not going to get done on time. And so therefore, I accumulate a longer to-do list simply because I don't trust anyone else to do it. Now, to me, that's not control, David. That's being responsible. That's taking care of things properly. It's not controlling. It's right. My opponent had a very positive way to present the opportunity to me, which is no longer presenting it as an opportunity. It became a burden. And let me show you the list of burdens that I have to accomplish every day. So one of the things that helped me shift out of that burdensome, obligatory ball and chain energy. And there's obviously, it's not a coincidence that it has that ball and chain vibe to it. It's heavy, right? It slows you down when you look at everything on your to-do list as an obligation or a burden, or if I don't take care of it, nobody else will. It's this idea, and those of you who've been listening for a longer period of time, this may be familiar to you, but it's the question that the Kabbalists enforce, I won't even say recommend, enforce, is asking why. Why am I doing this? Literally, why am I making my kids breakfast before they go to school in the morning? Why am I going to yoga? Why am I, whatever exercise you like, by the way, or if you don't like exercise, why do I not like exercise? Why am I making the choices that I'm making? Why am I spending time with the people that I'm spending time with? Why am I reading this book or watching the news right now? Asking yourself why all the time is, if you're actually going to listen to the answer and answer yourself honestly, you will be shocked. And you will be able to clear through that list of obligations, because according to the wisdom of Kabbalah, anything that we do for a specific intended result, or anything that we do in order to receive something in return from other humans, is going to drain us. And I'm not sure that we, even as spiritual people, I know some of our listeners have been studying spirituality for decades. I'm not sure we all look at our to-do lists in that way. Do we really think about the fact that, the reason I want the Mother of the Year award. That's why I'm doing all of these things in an excellent way. Why am I going the extra mile in my work? Because I want to be known. I want the notoriety that comes from being the person that doesn't say no. Why am I doing X, Y, and Z for my parents? Because I want to be their favorite child, right? There's nothing wrong with being their favorite child if it's not your goal. But if it's your goal and that's the motive behind everything that you're doing, it is going to be draining. If you are looking at a return from what we call the horizontal plane, if I'm looking for a return, it can be even a monetary return. I'm putting in the extra hours because I need the money. That may be okay to get you on the hamster wheel. But if you're going to use that, you're going to stay stuck on the hamster wheel instead of becoming inspired and recognized for your contributions and getting that monetary return. So part of what we want to do this week is identify those areas in our lives where we're operating from a place of obligation, from a place of attachment to the horizontal plane, which means I am looking for a return from people, from places, and from things, rather than wanting the return to come from an infinite source, which is the creator, which is the light force, which is the universe. I don't want a thank you. I want endless blessings in return for the effort that I make on a daily basis. And if I'm honest with you, this is something that I need to remind myself constantly. I wake up in the morning and I say, I cannot wait to see what the light has in store for me. I check my email, and there are definitely emails that might make me roll my eyes or take a deep breath and remind myself this comes with the territory, or, the 80,000 schools, the 80,000 emails I get from my kids' school, or whatever it is. I have the opportunity to remind myself the reason that I am making effort. And just to be clear, we are here to make an effort. The Kabbalists call our world, our reality, and there's 5 worlds. Our reality, our world, is called the world of action. Meditating isn't enough. You may feel lighter when you meditate. You may feel empowered, invigorated, supercharged. You may also feel relaxed and want to go to sleep. But the lightness that you feel is not an end. It's a means to an end, so that when you tackle that to-do list, you look at your calendar, you get out there in the world and are there for other people in service or doing your job or supporting your family or whatever it is, that you are a lighter being. when you step into that role. So yes, the meditation is good. Obviously, we talk about meditation all the time on Weekly Energy Boost, prayer, anything that you can do to energize and recharge. We have a whole day of the week that we dedicate to energizing and recharging. The goal is not to be full of energy and to ride on that high. The goal is to use that energy, because what ends up happening is when you go at those opportunities to get energy, you get the energy, you use it to serve, use it to tackle that to-do list, and then the to-do list you're no longer doing because you're looking for a return from the horizontal plane. Then there's no such thing as burnout. You are only burned out because you are relying on your battery pack alone. When we tap into the battery pack of the universe, of the creator, you have infinite resources. So that when I look at my to-do list and it's 80 pages long and I don't know if I'm going to have time for lunch today, I remind myself that I'm doing this because I want the blessings, the light, not because I need anybody's respect or kindness or paycheck. I think I might have shared this on the show before, but something that's been like a bumper sticker in the corner of my screen since I saw it is, it's not kindness if you're keeping score. And I think a lot of us are out there being kind and doing nice things, counting on the fact that it's going to come back for us, knowing that what goes around comes around, being attached to the fact that somebody's paying it forward means somebody's going to do something kind for me somewhere out there, and then waiting for it. And it's not happening. And then when we encounter a challenge, we say, hey, but I'm a good person. I'm a nice person. I do good things for other people. Why is this happening to me? That's an indication that we are waiting for the return from the horizontal plane, from the world of action, from people, places, and things. And so this week, the universe is supporting every single one of us to lighten up, to release those attachments to the horizontal people, places, and things, to release the attachments to our past, replaying those loops over and over and over again of what's going to happen and not being able to break out of it. Talking about what David was saying in the beginning of the show, the prejudgments, right? You don't know how it's going to happen. You don't know how it's going to unfold. This could be the best thing of your life unless you decide it's not, unless you prejudge it to be this again, that again, my failure loop, my incapability loop, or my nobody's going to understand me loop, or they're just going to leave me loop. Whatever VHS tape we put into the machine, this is the week to break out of that. It doesn't serve us. It burdens us. It bogs us down. It's a ball and chain. And this week, there are no excuses. You have all the support to cut the ties. This week, we're actually beginning the first day of creation, I believe, is on Wednesday, which means we're entering that realm of renewal and restoration for all of humanity. We'll talk about that in next week's episode. And I think that's it. So, as you know, the Weekly Energy Boost is available on all podcast platforms, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. You can follow us on social media to get extra content from us. We have a website, weeklyenergyboost.com, where we have all the things that we share, all those things that we think are important for our listeners to participate in. You can write to us on any social media platform, of course. You can email us at energyboost@kabbalah.com. And of course, please continue to rate, review, like, and share. And we'll see you next week on the Weekly Energy Boost.